Yin frowned, reaching out to the side of the bed with her hand. She found nothing. Slowly, her beautiful eyes opened, adjusting to the light from the lamp that was already turned on. 7 a.m. The scent of luxurious masculine perfume immediately filled the room as her husband stepped out of the walk-in closet, already dressed neatly in his work suit. "What time did you wake up? Why are you all dressed up already?" Yin asked, trying to sit up at the head of the bed with the duvet wrapped around her bare body. Jungkook, her husband, glanced at her briefly before walking to the nightstand to pick up his phone and tablet. "At 6. I have a meeting with a client this morning." Yin pouted. "This early? What if you wait for me to take a quick shower? We can have breakfast together. It's been a long time since we last had breakfast together," Yin pleaded in a sweet tone. Jungkook turned his head, looking at his petite wife, whose face was still fresh from sleep, her hair a mess. "I can't, baby. I'll be late if I wait for you to shower first." Because Yin's definition of a quick shower was at least 30 minutes. She loved spending time in the bathroom, whether soaking in the tub or playing with soap bubbles. "Then why didn't you wake me up earlier?" Yin protested. Every morning, she was always left alone. Jungkook rarely gave them a chance to have breakfast together, always buried in his endless work. "You're just making excuses because you don't want to have breakfast with me," Yin whined, her pout deepening as she clutched the duvet tighter around her. Jungkook let out a deep sigh. Arguments like these had become a daily occurrence. With a 7-year age gap, he had to be extra patient with his childish wife. But as someone naturally distant and indifferent, he often failed to pick up on Yin's unspoken wishes. They had been married for only a month, just a week after Yin graduated from university. Their marriage was arranged by their parents. Jungkook's parents were worried about their son still being single at 29, while Yin's parents were concerned about modern-day relationships. Both families were not only close friends but also business partners. Neither Jungkook nor Yin objected. They accepted the arrangement. However, their significant age gap made it difficult for Jungkook to understand Yin. On top of that, she had been pampered her whole life. Her childish nature often left Jungkook frustrated. "Yin, can we not drag this out? If I don't have a client meeting tomorrow, I'll have breakfast with you, okay?" Jungkook coaxed, hoping for her understanding. "But when?" Yin murmured softly, lowering her head, visibly disappointed and sad. Jungkook stared at her in silence before stepping closer. "How about we have dinner together instead?" He had to find a way to stop her sulking because, once she did, it would only make things harder for him. "Really?" Yin asked skeptically. Jungkook had promised dinner 3 times before, but all were cancelled due to work. Don't pout anymore." He gently stroked her head and placed a kiss on her forehead. "I'm leaving now." Yin narrowed her eyes at Jungkook's retreating back. She wouldn't easily believe his words anymore. Letting out a frustrated sigh, she slowly walked to the mirror. Her eyes caught sight of the marks from their lovemaking last night on her neck, shoulders, and just above her chest. Yin pouted. He was so sweet last night, but in the morning, he's back to being annoying," Yin grumbled. She walked to the bathroom. She needed a warm bath to soothe the soreness and aches in her lower body. That night, Yin sat on the bedroom sofa, waiting for Jungkook to come home from work. Her fingers busily scrolled through her phone. The bedroom door opened. Jungkook walked in. His face showed exhaustion as he made his way toward where Yin was sitting. Yin's eyes lit up excitedly. She immediately stood in front of him. "Jungkook, look." She held up a cute pajama set she had just bought. "Isn't it nice?" she asked, waiting for his opinion. Jungkook's gaze traveled from her head to her toes. His wife looked adorable, nothing like a 22-year-old woman. "It's nice," he replied with a small smile. Yin beamed, then quickly ran to the walk-in closet, returning with another pajama set in her hands. "I bought one for you too. We have matching couple pajamas," she said cheerfully. "Let's wear them tonight." Jungkook let out a tired sigh, rubbing his temples. He was momentarily stunned that Yin had bought him a pajama set as well. But the real problem was, should he, a tall, handsome, and dignified man, really wear pajamas covered in tiny, cute teddy bears? "Yin, are you serious? You actually bought this for me?" "What's wrong? It's cute," Yin replied in confusion, looking back and forth between the pajamas in her hands and Jungkook's face. "The material is soft too. It'll be comfortable to sleep in," she added, making Jungkook's headache worse. "You have to wear this. I'll be mad if you don't." See, this was just how spoiled and childish his wife could be. He still wondered how his parents had arranged for him to marry someone like this. But even so, Jungkook had no regrets. The moment he agreed to the marriage, he had accepted both the responsibility and the consequences. Just put it in the walk-in closet. He relented, knowing he didn't have the energy to argue. He just wanted to sleep peacefully without Yin pouting or whining at him all night. Yin nodded eagerly and ran off to put the pajamas away. A mix of happiness and disappointment filled her heart, happy because Jungkook had agreed, even if only to avoid an argument, but disappointed because every night, he rarely talked to her. If he wasn't going straight to sleep, he was buried in his laptop. But Yin wanted to talk before bed. It was a habit she had since childhood. Her mother or father would always listen to her stories until she got sleepy. But now, no one did. 1 hour later. There's a company party this Sunday. Come with me, Jungkook said before going to bed. Alright, Yin replied, holding back a smile as she looked at Jungkook mischievously. What? Jungkook asked, frowning at her strange expression. You look cute in those pajamas. I knew we'd look perfect in these matching sets, Yin chirped excitedly. Jungkook closed his eyes, sighing. Thankfully, he had stayed inside their bedroom all evening, so none of the maids had seen him. How would he ever face them if they found out that the cold, dignified CEO was wearing pajamas covered in tiny teddy bears? Enough, let's sleep. Don't you want to talk for a bit? We haven't spoken all day, Yin pouted. Yin, I'm exhausted. Please let me rest. We can talk tomorrow, Jungkook replied, his eyes already shut. Yin's face fell. She had so much to tell him. How she had successfully baked chocolate cookies that morning, how she had just finished a drama that left her in tears, and so much more. But Jungkook didn't seem interested. Sighing softly, she finally lay down and went to sleep. The ballroom was bustling with people, but unfortunately, Yin didn't know anyone except Jungkook's assistant. Since stepping out of the car, she had clung tightly to her husband's arm, afraid that he might leave her alone among a crowd of strangers. Jungkook, I want to get some of that food, Yin whispered softly. We'll eat later. Let's go there first, Jungkook said, nodding toward a group of people. Who are they? My business colleagues. 30 minutes later. For almost half an hour, Yin had stood beside Jungkook as he talked with his colleagues. Internally, she grumbled. She had been starving for a while now and just wanted to eat. Suddenly, Yin narrowed her eyes at the woman standing next to Jungkook. They exchanged small smiles and laughed quietly. The woman was clearly older than Yin. She looked smart, elegant, and beautiful. Yin pouted, then suddenly stepped to Jungkook's right, positioning herself between him and the woman. Excuse me, miss. Could you step back a little? You're too close to my husband, Yin said sharply, her eyes locked onto the woman. Oh, I'm sorry, the woman replied, stepping away slightly before smiling. I'm Yerin, one of Jungkook's business colleagues. You must be Yin, right? She asked politely. I'm Yin, Jungkook's wife, Yin stated confidently. Yerin let out a small chuckle, glancing at Jungkook apologetically. She hadn't meant anything by talking to him. Yes, I know, I attended your wedding. Yin nodded before tilting her head up to look at Jungkook. I'm hungry. When can we eat? She whined. Jungkook exhaled slowly, feeling the urge to scold Yin for being so blunt. Yerin, we'll be going now. Yerin smiled. Of course, Jungkook. Then turning to Yin, she said, Yin, make sure you eat a lot. Yin didn't reply, simply shrugging indifferently before grabbing Jungkook's hand and pulling him away. Yerin chuckled to herself, amused by their dynamic. Seeing Jungkook, normally so cold and serious, paired with such a lively and childish wife was truly entertaining. Their married life must be interesting, she thought. Once they reached the buffet table, Jungkook sighed. Yin, don't do that again next time, he reprimanded quietly while picking out some food for his wife. Why not? You were standing too close to her. I didn't like it, Yin huffed. But we were just talking. There was no need for you to act like that, Jungkook replied, slightly frustrated by her childish behavior. I was just being cautious. You never know. Maybe that Yerin woman actually likes you, Yin muttered nonchalantly. Jungkook paused for a moment before looking at her. Yin, don't say things like that carelessly. It could cause trouble if others overheard you, he warned, his tone weary. Yin pouted, ready to argue, but stopped when Jungkook added, Yerin is getting married next month. She already has a fiancé, so your assumption is completely wrong. Yin pursed her lips. Though she was relieved that her suspicion was baseless, she didn't want to admit it out loud. Without saying another word, she walked off to find a table. Jungkook let out another heavy sigh. It was difficult getting his young wife to understand the ways of the adult world. Not wanting to drag out the issue, he quickly followed after her. Day by day, Jungkook's demeanor grew colder. Conversations with him became nearly impossible. Every moment of his life revolved around work. Yin started to feel lonely. Even when she tried to get his attention multiple times, Jungkook remained indifferent, responding only with the bare minimum. Yin was frustrated. She wanted his attention too. She wanted his presence. It was 9 p.m. when Jungkook finally arrived home. As he opened the bedroom door, he froze. He blinked a few times, trying to process the scene in front of him. Yin, what are you doing? Jungkook asked, perplexed. Yin, who was lying on her stomach on the bed, turned her head toward him. She was hugging a bolster pillow, one that was now wrapped in one of Jungkook's shirts. Nothing. I just borrowed your shirt to dress up my pillow. Is that okay? She asked casually. But why? Jungkook asked, confused, as he walked closer. No reason, just felt like it, Yin answered evasively. The truth was, she had done it out of frustration. Since Jungkook had no time for her, she resorted to hugging the pillow wrapped in his shirt. It made her feel like she was close to him. She could even talk to it as much as she wanted, pretending it was him. Jungkook gave her a strange look but chose not to comment. Instead, he went to freshen up before sitting on the sofa, tablet in hand. Occasionally, he glanced at Yin, who was still engrossed with the pillow, even talking to it as if it were a stuffed toy. Jungkook shuddered slightly, but decided to let her be as long as she wasn't whining or throwing a tantrum. Yin, do you want some hot chocolate? Jungkook suddenly asked as he got up. He needed coffee to stay up late, and he knew his wife liked hot chocolate. He figured he could ask a maid to make both drinks at once. Sure, Yin replied without even looking at him. Her focus remained on the pillow, treating Jungkook as if he were nothing but air, just like how he had been treating her all this time. Jungkook frowned. He didn't like this distant attitude of hers. It made him feel uneasy, but once again, he didn't ask any further. He didn't need an explanation. As long as she was content and not sulking, that was enough. A few days later, Jungkook sat in his study, his brows furrowed as he analyzed the graphs and numbers on his laptop screen. A cup of hot coffee sat beside him, fueling his late-night work session. The quiet, focused atmosphere shattered the moment Yin entered, without knocking as usual. The soft sound of fuzzy slippers approached him. Yin smiled sweetly at her husband, making it impossible for Jungkook to ignore her. He finally shifted his attention when she sat across from him. It wasn't like Yin to come to his study, so she must have something important to say, though, in most cases, it was just random things. Jungkook, Yin called eagerly. Yeah, he replied, waiting for her to continue. Yin fiddled with her shirt, suddenly nervous. She had been holding back this request for a long time. We've been married for almost 2 months now, she started. Jungkook nodded in agreement, and we've never gone anywhere together. Are you free this weekend? She asked hopefully. I want us to go on a short trip, even if it's just for 2 days. Jungkook stayed silent, guilt creeping into his chest as he realized she was right. They hadn't spent any real time alone together. He glanced at his laptop screen again, but for once, he couldn't focus. I'm sorry, Yin. I have a meeting with an important client this weekend. My company just secured a major project, and we can't afford any mistakes, he said. Yin's cheerful expression faded instantly, her hope crushed. So you really have no time? She whispered. I'm sorry, not this time. Then when? Yin pushed. Her voice strained, her throat tightened, and her eyes burned with unshed tears. I'll let you know later. Yin clenched her fists tightly. The emotions she had been suppressing for so long were about to burst. Disappointment, sadness, frustration. Her eyes glistened with tears. Across from her, Jungkook felt unsettled. Do you even realize how lonely you've made me feel? Yin's voice trembled. I have a husband, but I don't feel valued. You never have time for me. It's always about work. You don't care about me at all. Jungkook rubbed his face roughly. He had deadlines, responsibilities, a huge project on the line. His mind was exhausted. And now, Yin was making everything even more complicated. Yin, you need to understand my job. I work hard to provide for you. I do this so you never have to worry about anything, he said, keeping his voice calm though he was starting to lose patience. Yin scoffed bitterly. Oh, so you provide for me? She let out a dry laugh. Sure. You give me everything I need materially. But what about my heart? I've been begging for your attention. Jungkook, just a little. Is that so hard? Her voice cracked. Yin, don't be childish, Jungkook muttered. Yes, I am childish, Yin snapped, raising her voice. I am still young, she repeated, her voice breaking. You should have married someone more mature, someone who can keep up with your so-called logical way of thinking. You should have refused this arranged marriage from the start. Watch your words, Yin. Jungkook's tone hardened, his gaze sharp. He hated hearing those ridiculous words from her mouth. 2 months into this marriage, and now you bring up our age difference? Jungkook scoffed. You are childish. You should have grown up a little after getting married. Yin's heart clenched painfully at his words. No one had ever spoken to her like this before. Her parents had always been gentle, even when she made mistakes. They never raised their voices at her. They taught her with patience. I hate you, she yelled. I regret marrying you. Without waiting for his reaction, Yin stormed out of his study. Jungkook ran his hands through his hair in frustration and then slammed his laptop shut. His fists clenched, and in his anger, he slammed his hand against the desk. 2 months of marriage. This was their first real fight. Yin was usually an obedient wife. He never expected her to argue back like that. Or had she been holding it in all this time? Damn it. That night, Jungkook refused to return to their bedroom. He needed time to cool off. His mind was a mess, filled with conflicting thoughts. He was older. He was supposed to handle things more maturely. He had to figure out how to fix this marriage. Because, truthfully, despite how childish Yin could be, Jungkook had already fallen for her. She could be annoying at times, but he genuinely cared for her. Yin had already carved a place in his heart. Seeing her happy, knowing she was safe, was enough to bring him peace. But tonight, he had made her cry. His chest tightened. Was this really the first time she had cried? Or had she been crying behind his back all along? I hate you. I regret marrying you. Her words kept replaying in his mind. Damn it, he had so much work to do tonight, but he really couldn't focus. However, he was still angry and frustrated with Yin. Their emotions were both still heated. It was better if they didn't face each other for now. That was what was on his mind at the moment. On the other hand, Yin was deeply disappointed with Jungkook's attitude toward her. Her heart ached because he still didn't understand what she wanted. She longed to be like other couples, affectionate and romantic. Instead, she had to beg for attention from her own husband. Even after getting angry and sulking right in front of him, Jungkook remained unmoved. Yin glared at the pillow, dressed in Jungkook's shirt. You're the worst. I hate you. You're cruel. You don't care about me. You don't love me. I regret marrying you. I regret becoming your wife. Her hands kept hitting the pillow, and before she knew it, tears were streaming down her smooth cheeks. I hate you, she cried again, punching the pillow repeatedly until exhaustion took over. But it wasn't enough. Yin stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and began stabbing the pillow mercilessly. The once intact pillow was now completely destroyed, the fabric shredded, and Jungkook's shirt torn beyond repair. She didn't care. She just wanted to let it all out. The frustration, the sadness, the unbearable pain in her heart. The next morning, Jungkook, who was already used to waking up early, quickly took a shower in his study before heading to the master bedroom. He needed to change clothes before going back to work. Carefully, he pushed the door open without knocking. Yin was not in the room. Hearing the sound of running water from the bathroom, Jungkook assumed she was showering. It's unusual for her to wake up this early. As he walked toward the bed, Jungkook froze in shock. The bolster pillow that Yin usually hugged, the one wrapped in his shirt, looked utterly destroyed. It was torn apart, its stuffing spilling onto the floor, and the knife, which Jungkook assumed was the tool used, was still lodged in the middle of it. Jungkook blinked, making sure he wasn't hallucinating. His breath caught as he stared at the shredded pillow. His shirt was ripped, the stuffing scattered everywhere, and the knife was still there, silently witnessing the emotions that had exploded the night before. Straightening his posture, Jungkook stared at the scene with a complex mix of emotions. As far as he knew, Yin could be sulky, but she had never done something like this. Was she really that angry last night? Jungkook let out a slow breath. Guilt started creeping in. Last night, he had been too consumed with his own ego to notice just how hurt Yin was, and now, the result was right in front of him. The sound of the bathroom door opening snapped him out of his thoughts. Yin stepped out, her damp hair dripping water onto her pastel-colored pajamas. She froze when she saw Jungkook standing beside the bed, staring at the ruined pillow. Their eyes met. Yin instantly knew Jungkook had seen everything. Biting her lower lip, she shifted uncomfortably. She hadn't expected to lose control like that last night, but seeing Jungkook standing there, his expression unreadable, made her even more anxious. I'll clean it up, Yin said quickly, turning to move. But before she could, Jungkook grasped her wrist, stopping her. Surprised by the sudden contact, Yin turned to look at him. Did I? Jungkook hesitated, searching for the right words. Did I make you this angry? Yin averted her gaze, unwilling to answer. She was afraid that if she spoke, her emotions would spill over again. Jungkook tightened his grip slightly, urging her to look at him. Yin. His voice sounded different this time. It wasn't anger, nor was it the indifference from last night. There was sincerity in it, something that made Yin's chest tighten. Unconsciously, her eyes grew warm. Her lips trembled as she struggled to hold back the emotions still lingering from their fight. I'm tired, Jungkook. That was all she could say before her tears finally fell. Jungkook fell silent, watching as Yin started crying. Her words were brief, yet they carried so much weight. He knew Yin wasn't just physically tired. She was emotionally exhausted. Slowly, Jungkook loosened his grip, though he didn't let go completely. He gazed at her bowed head, her shoulders trembling as she tried to contain her sobs. Yin. He wanted to say something, but his tongue felt tied. He wasn't used to dealing with situations like this. All this time, he had thought that as long as he worked hard and provided everything for her, that would be enough. But it wasn't. Silence filled the room until Yin finally lifted her gaze. Her eyes were red, but they held a raw honesty that cut deep. I know your work is important. I know your company is handling a major project. Her voice shook. But am I really not part of your priorities? I just wanted a little time. Just a little. Jungkook clenched his fists. His heart ached at how utterly defeated she sounded. He wanted to say that Yin was important to him, so important, but how could he convince her of that when his actions had told her otherwise? Yin took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I don't want to argue anymore. I don't want to burden you with my emotions, but if I keep feeling like this, I'm scared. Jungkook frowned. Scared of what? Yin looked at him intently. Scared that I'll really give up. Jungkook's heart pounded. Give up? That possibility had never crossed his mind before. He had always assumed Yin would stay by his side, no matter how distant or busy he was. But if she truly gave up, Jungkook didn't know what he would do without her. For the first time, Jungkook felt real fear. Gripping Yin's hand tightly, as if afraid she would slip away, he whispered, "Don't say things like that." There was a firmness in his voice, but also a vulnerability that Yin had never heard before. His normally impassive eyes were now filled with unease. Don't ever think about giving up, Yin. Yin let out a hollow chuckle. Then what should I do? Keep holding on alone? Jungkook clenched his jaw. She was right. She wasn't wrong for feeling this way. He was the one who had been wrong all along. Silence enveloped them. Only Yin's uneven breaths could be heard. Jungkook studied her face. The face that was usually bright and full of life now looked so drained and hurt. Guilt consumed him. He wanted to fix this. We'll go away this weekend. Yin blinked, stunned. What? I'll cancel all my plans, and we'll go somewhere, Jungkook repeated firmly. Anywhere you want. For the first time, Jungkook was setting aside his pride and prioritizing Yin. Yin remained speechless, unable to believe what she had just heard. Why all of a sudden? She asked quietly. Jungkook exhaled, gently running his fingers over the back of her hand. Because I don't want to lose you. His words made Yin's tears well up again, but this time, they weren't out of sadness. They were from the warmth slowly spreading in her heart. Jungkook was finally seeing her. For the first time, Jungkook was showing that he cared. Yin lowered her head, trying to suppress her sobs. If you cancel everything for me, won't you regret it? Jungkook shook his head. The only thing I'd regret is making you feel alone. Without hesitation, Jungkook pulled Yin into his arms, holding her tightly. Baby, I'm sorry for making you feel that way. Yin didn't resist. She buried her face on his chest, letting his warmth surround her. And just like that, her tears fell again, this time freely. While still holding Yin tightly, Jungkook gently stroked his wife's head. His touch was full of affection, different from his usual cold demeanor. He took a deep breath before finally saying, "We're not just going away for today's." Yin, who was still resting her face against Jungkook's chest, slowly lifted her head and looked at her husband in confusion. What do you mean? She asked softly. Jungkook gazed into her eyes as if making sure she was really listening. I'm taking a 1-month leave. Yin's eyes widened. What? Jungkook nodded firmly. I want us to go on our honeymoon. Abroad. Anywhere you want. Yin remained silent, too shocked by what she had just heard. She knew how busy Jungkook was with his work. He often spent weekends at the office. But now, he was willing to take a whole month off? Yin swallowed, her voice trembling slightly. Are you serious? Jungkook gave a small smile. gently caressing Yin's cheek with his thumb. I'm serious, baby. I know I've neglected you for too long. I also want to spend more time with you. Not just for a day or two, but enough time for us to truly enjoy being together. Yin's eyes welled up again. A wave of emotion washed over her. She had never expected something this big. All she wanted was for Jungkook to spare a little time for her, but he was giving her more than she had ever imagined. Once again, Yin's tears fell, but this time, it wasn't because of pain or sadness. It was because of the warmth spreading through her heart. She now hugged her husband tightly, her lips curling into a soft smile. Jungkook gently pulled away from the hug just enough to look into Yin's eyes. His hands rested on her shoulders as he spoke with certainty. Go pack your things. We're leaving tomorrow morning. Yin blinked in surprise. Tomorrow? Jungkook nodded. Yes, the sooner, the better. But Yin hesitated, glancing at him with worry. What about your work? The company? You can't just leave everything behind so suddenly. Jungkook cupped her face, his touch warm and reassuring. Don't worry about it. Everything will be taken care of. Yin searched his eyes, looking for any sign of hesitation, but all she found was unwavering determination. You're really serious about this? She murmured in disbelief. Jungkook smirked slightly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I said I'd make time for you, didn't I? From now on, I want to be the husband you deserve, and that starts with listening to what you need. Yin swallowed the lump forming in her throat. She had spent so long feeling like an afterthought, but now, Jungkook was proving otherwise. You're really doing this for me? She whispered. For us, Jungkook corrected, pressing a gentle kiss on her forehead. So, go pack your bags, Mrs. Jian. We have a honeymoon to enjoy. A small laugh escaped Yin's lips, half in disbelief, half in happiness. She wiped the lingering tears from her eyes before nodding. Okay, she finally agreed. Let's do this. Jungkook's smile softened. For the first time in a long while, they were finally moving forward together. But Yin still looked at Jungkook with a hesitant expression. But where are we going? She finally asked. Jungkook smiled and then gently cupped his wife's cheek. It's up to you. Anywhere you want. Yin's eyes sparkled. She couldn't believe Jungkook was truly letting her decide. All this time, even going out for dinner together was difficult because of his busy schedule, and now he was giving her the freedom to choose their honeymoon destination. After thinking for a moment, Yin finally said, I want to go to Switzerland, visit the cities, but also enjoy the countryside. Jungkook chuckled, gazing at his wife with deep affection. Switzerland, huh? Yin nodded firmly. I've always wanted to go there. Jungkook gently stroked the top of her head. All right, we'll go to Switzerland. Yin's face lit up even more, but before she could say anything else, Jungkook continued, but we have a whole month. If we only go to Switzerland, it would be a waste. We'll spend a week there, then go to another country the following week. That way, we can visit 4 different countries in 1 month. Yin froze for a moment, and then her eyes widened. 4 countries? Jungkook nodded with a playful smile. Why? Worried we'll get exhausted? It's not that. Yin shook her head, and then a wide smile formed on her lips. I just can't believe we're actually going to travel for that long. Jungkook chuckled, watching his wife grow more excited. I want to make sure you truly enjoy this time. So, let's think about it carefully. After Switzerland, where do you want to go next? Yin's face radiated pure happiness. The sadness and disappointment that had filled her heart the night before slowly faded, replaced by excitement and joy. She never imagined Jungkook would do something this big for her. With newfound enthusiasm, she began thinking about the other countries she wanted to visit, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly happy. By Jungkook's side,